Tonight, let us travel gently into the stillness of the desert, to a place where stone, light, and time seem to rest together in silence. Imagine the evening sky above Egypt slowly dimming from gold to violet. The heat of the day has begun to fade. The wind moves softly across the sand, and rising from that ancient plateau, calm and immense beneath the stars, stand the Great Pyramids of Giza. For thousands of years, they have watched the sun rise over the eastern desert and sink beyond the western horizon. They have seen dynasties come and go, languages change, rivers shift, and empires vanish into memory. Long before the modern world began to take shape, the pyramids were already old. And even now, they remain among the most peaceful and enduring reminders of how deeply human beings have always longed to leave something lasting behind. The Great Pyramids of Giza were built more than 4,500 years ago, during the time of Egypt's Old Kingdom. This was an age when the Nile River quietly guided life through a narrow green valley, bordered on either side by broad deserts of stone and sand. Each year, the river flooded the land, leaving behind rich dark soil. Crops grew there, villages thrived there, and from this repeating rhythm of water, earth, and sunlight, one of the world's most remarkable civilizations slowly flourished. The pyramids were built on the Giza plateau, just outside what is now Cairo. There are 3 great pyramids there, each belonging to a king or pharaoh. The largest was built for Khufu, known to the Greeks as Cheops. Nearby stand the pyramids of Khafre and Menkaure, slightly smaller, but still astonishing in scale and beauty. Together, they form one of the most recognizable landscapes in human history. Yet, when we imagine them now, it is easy to picture them as weathered monuments the color of desert dust. In their own time, they looked very different. Their outer surfaces were once covered in smooth white limestone casing stones, fitted so precisely that the sides would have gleamed brilliantly in the sun. From a distance, the pyramids may have appeared almost luminous, like mountains made of light. Their pointed tops likely caught the first rays of morning and the last soft glow of evening. To the people who built them, these structures were not only tombs, they were part of a wider sacred landscape. In ancient Egyptian belief, death was not an ending in the way we often think of it now. It was a passage, a continuation, a journey into another form of existence. The pharaoh, after death, was believed to move into the realm of the gods, joining the cycles of the heavens. The pyramid, with its steady upward form, may have symbolized a stairway of light, a shape reaching toward the sky. And so the story of Giza is not only a story of engineering, though the engineering was extraordinary. It is also a story of belief, of patience, and of an ancient culture that understood time in a very different way. The people of Old Kingdom Egypt lived close to cycles that repeated endlessly: the rising of stars, the flooding of the Nile, the turning of seasons, the procession of generations. In such a world, permanence mattered. Memory mattered. Harmony between Earth and cosmos mattered. The plateau itself was carefully chosen. Giza lies on the west bank of the Nile, and in Egyptian thought, the west was closely associated with death because it was the place where the sun disappeared each evening. As daylight softened and sank below the horizon, it seemed natural to imagine the souls of the dead traveling in the same direction, into mystery, into shadow, and perhaps into renewal. There is something deeply calming in that old vision of the world. The pyramids do not seem hurried. They do not speak of noise or speed. They belong to an age of stone tools, copper chisels, wooden sledges, careful measurements, and patient labor under wide open skies. They remind us that some of humanity's greatest creations were shaped not by haste, but by repetition, attention, and trust in long efforts, whose results would outlive their makers. And when we look at them now, standing under moonlight or morning haze, they seem to carry that quiet patience still. Their stones hold the warmth of vanished afternoons. Their shadows stretch across the desert as they have for millennia. Around them, the world has changed again and again. Yet the pyramids remain, serene and steady, like anchors dropped into the sea of time. In the next part of our journey, we will move more closely into the age of the pyramid builders themselves and gently explore how such immense monuments came to rise from the edge of the ancient Nile. Let us continue, slowly now, into the world of the people who built the Great Pyramids and into the long, quiet rhythm of life along the ancient Nile. If we could drift back across 45 centuries and arrive in Egypt during the reign of King Khufu, we would not find an empty desert filled only with silence and stone. We would find a living landscape. The Nile would be the center of everything, moving patiently through the land, carrying water from far to the south. Along its banks, fields of barley and emmer wheat would grow in the dark, fertile soil left behind by the annual flood. Date palms would stir in the breeze. Boats with linen sails would glide over the river's surface. Villages and work camps would hum gently with daily labor. This was the Old Kingdom, often called the Age of the Pyramids. It was a time of strong kingship, organized administration, and growing confidence in what human hands, guided by careful planning, could accomplish. Egypt was not yet an empire in the later sense. Its greatness rested not on distant conquest, but on the stability of the river valley and the steady coordination of people, materials, and belief. For a long time, many people imagined that the pyramids must have been built by enslaved workers driven under cruel conditions. It is an image that has lingered in popular culture, but archaeology tells a gentler and more complex story. The builders of Giza appear to have included skilled laborers, stone workers, engineers, haulers, bakers, brewers, and seasonal workers drawn from across Egypt. Some likely came during the months when the Nile flood covered farmland and agricultural labor paused. In that season, energy could be directed toward royal construction. Near the pyramids, archaeologists have found traces of workers' settlements, bakeries, food storage areas, sleeping quarters, tools, animal bones, and signs of organized provisioning. These remains suggest not chaos, but system. The people who labored here were fed, housed, and managed in large numbers. They worked hard, certainly, but they were part of a national project shaped by duty, pride, religious meaning, and royal power. It is peaceful, perhaps, to imagine this vast effort not as frantic struggle, but as a slow choreography repeated day after day beneath the Egyptian sun. Stone quarried, ropes pulled, sledges guided. Commands spoken, meals prepared, measurements checked, dust rising softly in the air. Then evening coming over the plateau, cooling the limestone, while workers rested and the stars appeared one by one above the desert. The stones themselves came from different places. Much of the core limestone for the Great Pyramid was quarried directly from the Giza plateau. Finer white limestone casing stones were brought from Tura, across the Nile. Granite for some interior chambers came from Aswan, hundreds of kilometers to the south. Moving such materials required knowledge of seasons, transport routes, and river navigation. During the inundation, when the Nile spread wide, boats could carry heavy stone closer to the construction site. From there, teams likely hauled the blocks over prepared paths using sledges, perhaps helped by wetting the sand to reduce friction. These details matter because they reveal something soothing and deeply human. The pyramids were not made by magic, nor by some vanished mystery beyond understanding. They were made by people observing materials, learning from the land, solving practical problems, and working together over many years. The wonder of Giza becomes no less beautiful when explained. In some ways, it becomes more beautiful because knowledge allows us to feel the human presence more clearly inside the stone. And above all this labor stood the pharaoh, a figure who was not seen merely as a political ruler, but as a sacred presence tied to cosmic order. The Egyptians called that order Ma'at, a word that can suggest balance, truth, harmony, and rightness. The king's task was not only to govern the land, but to help maintain this deeper order between the gods, the river, the sky, and the people. A pyramid, then, was not simply a monument to individual power. It was part of the great effort to keep the world aligned. When we lie awake at night, It is easy to think of history as a chain of loud events, battles, collapses, invasions, sudden changes. But much of human history was quieter than that. It was made from routine, from hands repeating tasks, from people waking early, preparing food, lifting stone, watching seasons, honoring customs, and trusting that what they built mattered. The Giza plateau was shaped by those kinds of days. And perhaps that is one reason the pyramids still feel so calming to contemplate. They were born from collective patience, from human beings willing to think in decades, from a civilization so rooted in cycles of river and sky that it could imagine building not just for one lifetime, but for eternity. In the next part, we will move inside the pyramids themselves and gently explore their hidden spaces, their inner design, and the quiet mysteries that still remain within their stone. Now let us move inward, away from the bright openness of the plateau, and into the cool interior spaces of the pyramids, where silence gathers differently, and where stone seems to hold its breath. From the outside, the Great Pyramid of Khufu appears simple in form, almost perfectly still in its geometry. But within that immense body of stone lies a carefully arranged inner world of passages, chambers, angles, and hidden spaces. It is one of the reasons the pyramids have never felt like ordinary buildings. They are both massive and mysterious, plain in outline and intricate within. To enter the Great Pyramid is to leave behind the wide horizon of the desert and descend, almost at once, into a more intimate kind of time. The air cools, sound softens, light grows scarce. The stone passageways narrow around you. Every step seems to draw you farther away from the modern world and deeper into the intentions of ancient minds. Inside Khufu's pyramid, there is a descending passage cut into the bedrock, an ascending passage leading upward, the so-called Queen's Chamber, the Grand Gallery, and, at the heart of the structure, the King's Chamber. These names were given much later and do not necessarily reflect the original purpose of each space. Still, they give us a language for moving through the monument, room by room, as if following a quiet path through a mountain shaped by thought. The Grand Gallery is one of the most remarkable spaces in the ancient world. It rises high and narrow, with corbelled walls stepping inward as they climb. Even in photographs, it feels almost unreal, like a stone corridor designed less for daily use than for ceremony, alignment, and awe. One can imagine torchlight flickering against the limestone, shadows lifting upward, and footsteps echoing through the long passage in measured rhythm. At the end of this ascent lies the King's Chamber, built from enormous blocks of granite brought from Aswan. Within it rests a granite sarcophagus, plain and heavy, with little ornament visible today. The room itself is spare, almost severe, and this simplicity gives it a strange serenity. There is no crowding of decoration, no overflowing display, only weight, proportion, and quiet enclosure. Above the chamber are a series of relieving spaces designed to redirect the tremendous pressure of the stone above, protecting the room beneath from collapse. Even here, deep inside the pyramid, we can feel the calm intelligence of structural care. And yet, for all that has been measured and studied, much remains uncertain. Why were certain passages built the way they were? What exact ritual purposes did some chambers serve? Why were narrow shafts cut from inner rooms toward the outer surface? Some scholars connect them to stars, to symbolic routes for the soul, or to ventilation during construction. Others remain more cautious. The pyramids still keep some of their meanings folded inward, as though not every answer wishes to emerge all at once. There is something restful in that mystery. In daily life, we are often surrounded by demands for instant clarity. We want every puzzle solved, every silence filled, every uncertainty reduced. But ancient monuments do not move at that pace. They teach a slower relationship with the unknown. They remind us that not all knowledge arrives fully formed. Some of it remains partial, patient, and unfinished, waiting for future generations to listen more carefully. Modern archaeology has revealed much without erasing wonder. Engineers have studied the angles, the weight distribution, and the internal layout. Surveyors have shown how precisely the Great Pyramid was aligned with the cardinal directions. Researchers using modern scanning methods have even detected hidden voids within the structure, including a large mysterious space above the Grand Gallery, still not fully understood. These discoveries do not break the spell of the pyramid. Instead, they deepen it. The monument becomes not smaller under examination, but richer. It is also worth remembering that what we see now is incomplete. The burial goods are gone. The polished surfaces are mostly lost. The chamber contents have long since been disturbed by time, intrusion, and change. The pyramids have passed through many eras of reuse, curiosity, theft, study, and legend. They are ancient buildings, but also living historical objects, carrying traces of every age that has touched them. And through all these centuries, the inner spaces have endured. Dark, quiet, and carefully balanced, they remain like sealed pockets of old kingdom thought, preserved inside stone. In the next part of our journey, we will gently widen our view again, looking beyond the pyramids themselves to the surrounding landscape of tombs, temples, desert edges, and the long afterlife of Giza in memory, myth, and world history. Let us step quietly back out into the open air, where the desert night feels wide again, and the pyramids stand not alone, but within a larger sacred world. The Giza Plateau was never meant to be understood as only 3 giant monuments rising from empty sand. It was, from the beginning, a carefully ordered landscape of meaning. Around the Great Pyramids were temples, causeways, smaller pyramids, boat pits, noble tombs, workers' cemeteries, and long avenues of movement connecting the river valley to the high, dry ground of the plateau. The whole area formed a ceremonial world in which death, memory, kingship, and the cycles of the cosmos were quietly woven together. Near each pyramid stood a mortuary temple, where rituals for the deceased king were performed. From there, a causeway led down toward a valley temple closer to the edge of the floodplain. These processional routes linked desert and river, stone and water, stillness and movement. They suggest that the pyramid complex was not simply a burial place, but part of a ritual journey, one that may have echoed the king's passage from earthly life into a more sacred, enduring realm. Nearby, many officials and members of the elite were buried in rectangular tombs called mastabas. These tombs, lower and flatter than the pyramids, were built close to the kings they served in life. In this way, even the geography of the dead reflected the social order of ancient Egypt. Yet there is something tender in that closeness too. To remain near the ruler in death may have offered prestige, but perhaps also continuity, the quiet hope that familiar bonds might carry onward into eternity. And then, of course, there is the Great Sphinx. Resting near the pyramids with its lion's body and human head, the Sphinx has watched the plateau for so long that it almost seems less like a sculpture than a natural feature of the landscape, like a hill worn into meaning. Most scholars believe it was carved during the reign of Khafre, though some questions remain. Its face, weathered and calm, turns toward the east, greeting the sunrise. Day after day, century after century, it has met the light in silence. There is a special stillness in the Sphinx. The pyramids rise sharply and mathematically, but the Sphinx rests low to the ground, half monument and half presence. It has inspired myths, speculations, poems, and dreams for generations. Sand buried it more than once. Rulers in later periods cleared it again. One ancient prince, long before becoming king, is said to have fallen asleep in its shadow and dreamed that the Sphinx spoke to him, promising kingship if he would uncover it from the sand. Whether the story is history, legend, or something in between, it reveals how strongly Giza continued to stir the imagination even for Egyptians living thousands of years after the pyramids were built. That long afterlife is one of the most soothing things to reflect on. The pyramids did not belong only to the Old Kingdom, they became part of every age that followed. Later, Egyptians visited them as ancient monuments. Greek travelers wrote about them with wonder. Roman visitors admired them. Medieval writers speculated about their purpose. Early modern explorers measured them. Archaeologists mapped them. And today, they continue to receive a steady stream of visitors from around the world, each arriving with their own questions, their own sense of awe, their own quiet astonishment that such things still stand. The surrounding desert has changed over time, as all landscapes do. The Nile's channels have shifted, settlements have expanded, winds have moved sand grain by grain. The edge between living city and ancient plateau has drawn closer. Yet Giza still preserves something of an older rhythm, especially in the early morning or late evening, when the crowds thin, the sky softens, and the stone begins to glow with the gentle color of the setting sun. In those quieter moments, it becomes easier to imagine not only kings and monuments, but the deep background of the place itself. Before dynasties, before writing, before cities, this land had its own long geological history. The limestone plateau on which the pyramids stand was formed from ancient marine sediments laid down in seas that existed tens of millions of years ago. Long before Egypt was Egypt, this region belonged to worlds of water, shell, and shifting earth. The stones of Giza are therefore not just ancient by human standards. They are fragments of a far deeper history, lifted from prehistoric seabeds and shaped into monuments by human hands. That thought can be wonderfully calming. Human civilization, so vivid in our minds, rests upon landscapes unimaginably older than itself. The pyramids feel eternal to us, yet even they are recent compared with the age of the rocks beneath them. And those rocks are recent compared with the age of the earth itself. In the final part, we will let our journey become broader and softer still, reflecting on why the Great Pyramids continue to soothe the imagination, and what they quietly tell us about time, endurance, and the small but meaningful place of human life within the deep history of this planet. And now, as our journey draws softly toward its end, let us rest for a while in the quiet meaning of the pyramids themselves. There are many ancient monuments in the world. Some survive only as fragments. Some are remembered through texts, or broken foundations, or the scattered traces of lives once fully lived. But the Great Pyramids of Giza remain with an unusual calmness. They do not feel accidental. They do not seem to cling desperately to the past. Instead, they stand with a kind of patient certainty, as though they have made peace with time. Perhaps this is why they are so soothing to think about at night. They remind us that the human story is very old, and that long before our modern worries, long before electric light and busy roads and glowing screens, there were other people lying beneath other skies, wondering about life, death, memory, and the heavens above them. They too watched the stars. They too felt the passing of generations. They too wished to understand where they came from and what might remain after they were gone. The pyramids were one answer to those questions. They were built from earthly materials, from limestone shaped by ancient seas and granite drawn from distant southern quarries. Yet they were arranged in forms that looked upward, towards sun and sky. In that sense, they joined two scales of existence at once. They belonged to the deep geology of the planet and to the fragile, hopeful imagination of human beings. Stone and dream, weight and belief, earth and eternity. And when we place them into the longer history of the earth, their beauty becomes even gentler. The limestone beneath Giza began forming millions of years before any pyramid builder was born. Ancient marine organisms lived and died in warm, shallow seas, leaving behind sediments that slowly hardened into rock. Tectonic changes lifted those rocks. Wind and erosion shaped the plateau. Climate shifted again and again. Deserts expanded and contracted. Rivers changed their paths. Species appeared and vanished. Entire worlds came and went before the first Egyptian dynasty ever rose along the Nile. Then, much later, human communities gathered by that river. Farming deepened. Villages grew. Kingdoms formed. Writing emerged. Monuments rose. And for a brief moment in geological time, a civilization looked at the horizon, looked at the sun, looked at the stone beneath its feet, and decided to build something that would speak across ages. That is what the pyramids still do. They speak, but very quietly. They tell us that slowness can create greatness, that patience can outlast noise, that beauty does not always require delicacy. Sometimes it comes through mass, balance, and silence. That human beings, though brief in the history of the planet, are still capable of leaving behind works that carry thought and feeling far beyond a single lifetime. There is comfort in that, not because the pyramids make us feel powerful, but because they place us gently into proportion. They remind us that our lives are small, yes, but not meaningless. The builders of Giza lived ordinary human lives in many ways. They worked, ate, rested, hoped, obeyed, believed, and died. Most of their names are gone, and yet their labor became part of something that still invites wonder thousands of years later. In this way, the pyramids are not only about kings, they are also about continuity, about the countless unseen hands that shaped stone, prepared food, measured space, ferried supplies, and kept a civilization moving in rhythm with river and season. History often remembers the summit, but the monument itself holds the weight of many lives. And now, in the present, the pyramids continue their long companionship with the desert sky. At dawn, they receive the pale gold of morning. At noon, they stand bright beneath the open blue. At sunset, their edges soften into amber and rose. And at night, they become dark and still beneath the stars, as they were for ancient Egyptians, for Greek travelers, for wandering scholars, for explorers, and for all those who have ever paused before them and felt time become wider. So, as you rest and let your thoughts grow slower, you may imagine that plateau once more. The desert air is cool now. The sand is quiet. The Nile flows unseen in the distance, and the great pyramids remain where they have long remained, calm against the night, holding in their silence the memory of an ancient world. A world of river light and white limestone, of sacred kings and patient workers, of tombs, stars, and deepening shadow, of seas turned to stone and stone turned into memory. And somewhere in that immense stillness, perhaps there is a gentle comfort that the earth is old, that human longing is old, and that across all the ages, from vanished oceans to the rise of kingdoms to the quiet hour in which you now lie awake or drifting towards sleep, time has continued to carry everything forward with extraordinary calm. And so, beneath the stars above Giza, we may let the mind grow quiet too. We may simply rest,